Everyone. It's been a while since we have last connected. Last time I did some vlogging or did some videos was actually a while ago, and I was somewhere overseas. And just to fast forward that, I'm just going to let you know what is happening. I have been or my family and I, we've been already in quarantine, and we've been in self lockdown. So in total, all with the self quarantine, all this thing, and when we arrived in Jakarta, so the health authorities said that we didn't have to go and isolate ourselves in any particular facility or an island or a hospital, but we were allowed to stay at home for 2 weeks. But it turned out it was more than 2 weeks because at that time the governor here, and it was also a national policy that we had to stay home. So we were in lockdowns for a couple of months. So, but anyway, it was a lot of learning points, and I actually had a lot of insights of what has been happening. Not so much what is going on in the world, but what is happening in terms of where do we relate ourselves to the world, right? So how do we position ourselves, and what is the people now are talking about the new normal, right? So the new normal is really not well defined yet, but we're kind of, if you look at the news and you look at some of the commentators and you look at some of the videos on YouTube, it's really not clear what this new normal is going to be. Okay, granted, it's all about the social distancing and the face mask and all that. That's completely valid. But the thing that is really that we need to look at right now is, what does that mean in terms of our activities? What does that mean for business? What does that mean in the way we do things? So, what will be, you read about these things about the 10, best businesses that are going to be developing, because of post COVID-19 and all that. That's fine, right? But how assured are we? How long is that really going to, take off? I mean, where do we adjust ourselves? So, so I took a lot of deep kind of immersing and trying to understand myself. Where do I want to be, right? What needs to be? What's the most important thing? What is priority right now for us in order to sustain for the long run? So, after reading some books, after talking to some people, after coaching some clients and so forth, it is apparent to me right now the most important thing that we need to keep up is our sense of morale, our sense of motivation, belief. Okay? Because right now, if I talk to a lot of my friends are not doing so well with their business. They had to lay off some people. They had to shut down some of their operations. Some of them went bankrupt. It's really serious stuff here, right? And I think if you are going to be moving up or leveling up to wherever you are, even at the most bottom level of your own situation, definitely the thing that's going to be helpful is your sense of morale, your sense of motivation, your sense of belief. Because without that, then you are stuck. You are stuck at the bottom, and tendencies are that if you're in survival mode, it's very difficult to find out opportunities, options, looking at possibilities and all that, because you're so much focused on yourself. So, I say this a lot, and I do share this a lot to some of my clients, but then at the end of the day, how much do we actually walk the talk, right? How much do we really actually walk the talk? So aside from that, I've been also reading a lot of the some works done by this economist, his name is Paul Zane Pilzer. He was pretty much famous in the early 2000s, right? You hardly hear about him, but there's something that I picked up. What he said, there was actually four things that will provide us happiness, right? I know it's kind of difficult for us to talk about happiness right now. I mean, what kind of happiness are we looking at? Um, just being grateful is good enough. Grateful being alive, grateful being healthy, grateful being strong on what we're doing. Just being that itself is is some sort of a blessing. But it does not really give us the happiness that one would envisage. So what Paul Pill, uh, I gotta say his name right, Paul Zane Pilzer. What Paul Zane Pilzer said basically is four ways. One is what he calls transactional, right? It's mostly temporary, right? So assume that you go into a store and you buy something and you pay the cashier and you get whatever you need. That provides this kind of transactional kind of happiness, right? It's on a transactional basis, right? People do this all the time, whatever it is that they need, it does give you some sort of happiness, but it's only at that level. The second thing is what he describes is the recognition. Just the sole fact that you are being recognized for doing something. Now, that level two is kind of difficult right now, because how many wins? A lot of people are just going to be maintaining, just keeping their head above the water. It's just break even, right? Not so much. There's not really much that growth or that ability. Now, grant you, there are some people who are actually benefiting from this situation right now, right? You have people who are in the e-commerce space, people like Jeff Bezos of Amazon. I mean, he's just, I don't know how many times, he's a trillionaire, I think, by now, right? I mean, these people like him are definitely making some grounds because of the situation right now, right? But for common folks like I am and you are, and for some of you, it's really about incremental kind of successes, incremental. And for that incremental successes, however big, small, or minute it is worth recognizing. Okay? Because if this transactional does not occur, although he calls it that every transaction, any kind of transaction that we do gives us that kind of happiness, but it's actually number two right now in terms of how to survive in crazy times, is that that bit of whatever success that we have is worth recognizing. And the more frequent that you have of this successes, it will create that momentum for you to take off. It will create that momentum for you to take off. There's some people who are in the digital marketing space. I've got some few people who are consultants, people in the insurance business. I've got some lawyers as well. There are basically having a hard time. But we can compete. When I say we, all those people that I mentioned can compete with others in the industry, is really being able to have that confidence, that belief. Because right now, everybody does not have the confidence, does not have the belief, and it will not take their company to the next momentum, right? Next momentum. For the past week, I've been following this magnificent coach, Alex Jeffries. He mentions about me to meaning, right? And instead of focusing on the me, but focus on the meaning of that meaning that we hold, because that will give you the belief and that will give you that ability to keep up with the morale, the motivation. Now, I'm not a motivator. I'm by far a motivator, but I can tell you that if you can keep that motivation up, it will give you at least that slight edge where everybody else is not motivated, right? That's the new normal. That's the new economy, if you will. It's not so much about who produces the most and the cheapest, who can distribute, right? And who can get the latest technology. That is if it's in a normal situation, but in a crazy time, no one really looks at manufacturing or how to produce it and how to distribute it and even have access to the best marketing agencies and all that. Because right now, the competition is, it's almost like the survival of the fittest. It's really the person. We are at the helm right now. We are the ones who can make a difference. Okay? So that's my message. Sorry that it took a little too long to actually explain it, but I thought I had to share this with all of you. I'm not editing this. I'm not putting any fancy music, but I just want to share out and put a comment there if you agree or not or disagree. It's okay. I'm just sharing something what's been happening for me and some of what's been happening with me for the past couple of months. But anyway, thank you for listening and God bless. I hope to see you soon. Bye.